Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And if we ever wanted it to be yours and not ours, I'm sure this is the week for that. But who are we? I am Jamie Williams, also known as the Vet. This is my tag team partner, Brandon. Brandon, what's up?
Not much, man. If I could sum up what's going on in just a few lyrics, there is actually a few Matchbox 20 lyrics I could use to sum things up, if you don't mind me doing, since we don't really have, since Impact didn't really give us a lot to work with this week again.
And it's from the early 2000s.
Well, straight up, what did you hope to learn about here? If I was someone else, would this all fall apart? Strange, where were you when we started this gig? I wish the real world would just stop hassling me. I wish the real world would just stop hassling me. I wish the real world would just stop hassling me.
You know, I never looked at those lyrics in a TNA wrestling context before, but it all fit, you know?
I also had my car broken into and stolen, so.
Oh. Well, sorry to hear about that. Well, I wonder what it's like to be the head honcho over at Impact.
I wonder what I'd do if they did just what I said.
Yeah, you probably get something like this show. But I don't know if we want to get to it yet. I don't know if we want to put this off as long as possible, and I can't stress enough that if you guys want to, if there's any topics you guys want to talk about, if you guys want to have us talk about them, if you want to ask anything, whatever. If you want to put your recipes for holiday baking in the chat, whatever you want to talk about besides this show, please provide us with the information. And then as we blast through this thing in a couple of minutes, and then we can get to your guys' stuff at the end, that would be just absolutely great. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and acknowledge those who have showed up so far. As there's a lackluster CM Punkless Raw. Like, not only did last week, Brandon, did they not want to counter program our show by having Punk on the show? They waited until literally we signed off the air before they brought him out. But this week they were like, you know what? Let's just not follow up on it at all. Let's let him sit at home. He'll be on SmackDown. We don't have to worry about this. We don't need this. We don't need to capitalize on anything right now. Let's just hold off. So there's nothing going on over there. Certainly the football game with the Bengals and the Jacksonville has got to have such low national interest that nobody cares and nobody's watching it. So really everything's about the Impact Attack tonight. But who's joining us here tonight on this lovely Monday evening?
All right, let's see. We got Lab Rat chilling with us. We got Retro Rocket Review, Javi Uchida, Steve Eggert, Lizbeth. How y'all doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. Buckshot Kid, what is up? Whoop whoop.
Just sliding in under the radar. He's not a guarantee every time anymore. But when we have this fucking rotten IPWF review or whatever, he's got to make it, right? So we've got Buckshot Kid. So yeah, starting out with I guess what you would call the news. Is there any news? I didn't see anything. Looks like there's nothing.
Other than the absolute mind-boggling decision to not have CM Punk on Raw. What goes through your head to think that that's a good idea? Putting him on SmackDown? That's a great idea. Taking him off Raw? Stupid. Unless it's a swerve. Unless it's a swerve, he's going to show up later tonight. That's the only way I can see that making sense. And even then, it's still kind of a stretch.
Right. And remember, this is SmackDown a week after the other SmackDown that he didn't show up. So now he's had 2 shows where he didn't show up. Now,
Right. What business would he have on SmackDown?
yeah, I don't know. What business does he have anywhere? I mean, that's the mystery, but that's
Yeah.
what you have to capitalize on immediately, you know?
Right. You have to have some kind of hook of, okay, they're kind of going in this direction. There's some breadcrumbs for us to follow. Let's follow it. They left no breadcrumbs at the end of last week's Raw.
Yeah. So, what you know, what can you do? You could say, well, maybe it's his, like, he's like, look, I'm not gonna be able to make these shows, so I'm show up for Survivor Series and the Raw after, and then I have to, you know, like, I won't be able to show back up until next SmackDown. Maybe that's his call. That's the only thing I could think of, because I would think that they would definitely want to capitalize on it. I mean, even they aren't that stupid.
All right. So you go back to the old playbook of like, okay, we know we're not going to have Punk on Raw next week. We have him here now. Let's tape some stuff that we can air next week.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But they're not going to do that either. They're not going to do anything interesting because they are who they are. The WWE is who they is. Still all those same, it's a lot of those same people still. Even if McMahon's not there, you got a lot of his stooges, a lot of the old people that just do things. You still got Kevin Dunn doing things the way they've always been done. You still got Bruce Pritchard doing things the way they've always been done. So, you know, that's how it goes. But anyway, so yeah, so for whatever reason, we haven't even gotten a follow-up. You know, we shake everything up and then let's let it settle back down again. No reason to keep it going. So and Buckshot Kid asked an interesting question, I guess. Why have Punk on SmackDown when Fox is dropping the show? I mean, regardless of, you don't do, obviously, the WWE doesn't do anything with pleasing the networks in mind. If that was the case, then they would have had a lot more exciting content over the past years that they've been on Fox, right? So clearly they don't give a shit about that. But they still have a brand to uphold for themselves. So it's if they're doing things for their fans, that's what you have to think about. And then when Fox moves over to, or when SmackDown moves from Fox over to USA next year, all the people will be excited to go with them, because, you know, you're now going from over the air network television to paid subscription television. You know, you can't just jack a cable into your TV from the wall and get USA Network. You have to have some sort of a cable subscription, satellite, whatever have you. And Fox is only getting about 2 million viewers of SmackDown on their ratings as it is. Raw is struggling to get 2 million as it is. They are not even getting a one. The last time they got closer to 2 million than 1.5 million was when they had fucking CM Punk on the night after his big return. So they can't even get a 2 with Randy Orton and Punk coming back. It's going to be a struggle as people just continue to leave subscription-based television services and just move on to either stealing stuff on the internet, watching clips on the internet, and all this other stuff, and more streaming focused things, right? So also, if you look at here gives you an idea of how much the ratings mean, like, as far as, of course, you know, when people say ratings matter, like when people are arguing for the importance of television ratings, keep in mind that is so much for the networks that are still putting on television, right? Of course it matters to them. That's their business. Just like anybody that that has a business cares about their own business over every other aspect of, business in general. So Fox has preempted SmackDown and moved it to their cable channel, right? FS1, during times when they've had other sports programming, such as the World Series or whatever. And when that happens, Fox's the ratings for SmackDown get cut in half. You go from 2.2 million average rating to a 1.1 when you move it to the cable station. That's partially because less people have Fox Sports 1, partially because people are creatures of habit and they're used to seeing what they tune in at the same time every week. If you're still doing that, if you're a dinosaur that's still sitting at the television at the time they tell you to, then yes, you're going to see the SmackDown's not on. You're not going to go look for it. You're not going to find it, and you're going to miss it. Then when SmackDown comes back from Fox Sports 1, they go from a 2.2 to a 2.0 average. So now you've lost another 200,000 people after you went back on your normal time slot and your normal channel, even though more people can watch your show now, and more people have heard that Randy Orton is back, and more people have heard that CM Punk has come back, and you still lost 200,000 people. Why? Because you weren't there last week, and now people are just assuming you're not there. So they're just like, fuck it. I don't care if I miss SmackDown. That's how people act. If you're still a dinosaur watching television, of course. Normal people just read the internet, find out what happens, and then they look up clips on YouTube or whatever to find out what they missed, if they care. So
you got to be consistent. You have to be consistent. What the best advertisement still always will be word of mouth. If it's great, if it's entertaining, word will get around and people will tune in. That is better than any amount of money you can pump into advertising campaigns. Like that'll get like the gears going, but it's word of mouth that really pushes it and makes it into something bigger than what you thought it could be.
Yep. And just to show you what that word of mouth can do, if you look up, let's see. Let's see here. You go ahead and look up that video, the WWE thing.
Great example, Stevie Richards. Pretty much word of mouth, and we saw how his channel skyrocketed.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So 8 days ago, the WWE channel put up their thing on YouTube, okay, for the Punk return, right? How many views does that have today? 6.3 million views for that. Now, that's 8 days ago, sure. But what did it have the day after? Like 2 million, something like that? 4 million, something like that. So then you go ahead and then you look at that ratings bump from a 1.39 up to like a 1.8. So only 400,000 people, even though 4 million people watch the return on YouTube, only 400,000 people are going to tune in. Not even like even 1 million extra people.
And honestly, I blame that on the writing and the booking and the creative of, like, they failed to capitalize on that. They could have leveraged that into, I think they could have gotten over 2 million if they had built that throughout the show and wrote it correctly and structured it in a way where it's like, You have the like Vince, like Russo always says, you have the beginning, the middle, and the end that's threaded throughout the show and climaxes and ends with a cliffhanger. Then they failed to do that.
Oh, well, then let's. I mean, yeah. Again, only 400,000. Oh, how many views does his actual promo that he actually cut on actual Raw have? As of right now, it looks like it has 2.8 million views, which is double the entire viewership of Raw. So obviously, the TV cable Raw numbers are not representative of the amount of people that have interest in this. That's what my point is of what I'm saying. Like,
and I 100% agree. And
yeah,
WWE has failed to generate that interest in it. You have all this ammunition and you're not using it.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, that's that. I don't know what more we can really say other than tune in on Friday to see Tribute to the Troops and CM Punk, the next appearance of CM Punk. Maybe they could do something interesting, like if he goes out there, someone else might go out there. Or maybe he goes out there when someone else is out there. Or maybe they have him walk around backstage and interact with people. You know, anything interesting. Maybe that. Let's hope for that. Or maybe he'll just cut one promo, you know, just to whatever. Who knows?
Or maybe because traditionally Tribute to the Troop shows are pretty low on viewership. You think that might be a little ploy to boost that viewership?
Could be. It also could just be like, obviously it's not what it used to be. You know, Tribute to the Troops used to be like you go over there, you know, you have a special show in front of the actual.
Yeah, like on an actual military base overseas.
Right. Then it went to, okay, we'll just do it on a military base on our own soil. Then it went to, okay, now we're just going to do a show and say it's Tribute to the Troops. So, you know, maybe they're just slapping a Tribute to the Troops graphic on everything now, and they're just going to have a regular episode of SmackDown or whatever. I don't know. But whatever it is, it'll be kind of just a treading water show, which is, you know, kind of what we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm still trying to put it off, and I'm giving you guys time to, you know, get your material together for the back half of this episode. But yeah, so yeah, not much news. Anything else to go over? Any other points of interest, talking points?
I think that what probably as far as wrestling goes, like the biggest news that I read is that it looks like Okada's going to be a free agent in 2024.
Well, that's a very interesting prospect for everybody else. I don't know if they're going to. There was a time when I said it was guaranteed that he would never leave, but the way that New Japan has sort of operated in recent times, you know, makes me doubt that a little bit more. It's quite stale, and even with their staleness, it seems like they're not really doing anything to turn things around. And even the use of him there, you know, he goes from being like the best in the world to one of the 6-man champions. It's like, it's very confusing booking on this. And I don't know if that's a reflection of what they have planned for him, or if they're also treading water and waiting for something. But with Will Ospreay signing with AEW, you know, there could be more people that are willing to sort of follow suit. The WWE's already made overtures in the past. They've publicly expressed, Triple H has publicly expressed that that's one of the people he absolutely wants. It's just going to be a weird fit to have him there, because I don't know if they really know what to do with him. it's one thing to just want somebody there. It's another thing to actually have him fit into your current, you know, the way you're doing your business, right? So, I don't like the prospect of it either way. But if at least if AEW has the working relationship with New Japan, that will allow Okada to remain who he is and just transfer it over. Um, but still, it's hard to imagine him on a weekly basis. Like, he's such an attraction. It seems like, that'd just be like having Andre the Giant wrestle on Monday Night Raw once in a while, like every week, like not really special. I don't know. But AEW has so many people, even they can't even have some people wrestle every week. So I don't know. What's your familiarity with Okada, and how would you see him fitting into the American landscape?
Man, honestly, at this point in his career, I think his best spot would be WWE. Because I think like if he could adapt his style and get better at English, he could cross over very well into like the character-driven, mainstream-oriented version of American wrestling.
He definitely could.
And plus, with how long he's been doing it and where he's at in his career, he might be wanting to wind down, take it easy, and just make a bunch of money on the way out.
Well, that would be the AEW route, I would say, because they work a lot less.
That's true.
So then you're not going to end up on some house show in Des Moines. Here he is, the Rainmaker. like, that's I don't know, but I guess in Japan he's used to the same thing. He goes to some hick town that you have to get to by bus or whatever to be a 6-man champion. So he's probably tired of it. But I don't know, man. I guess he was booked like a god in New Japan. It's what got him to this. It's what got him to this state. Now, they book a lot of people like gods all over the world. It's just lucky that he's good enough to be that good. Because, they booked John Moxley pretty strong too. He's obviously not good, right? So, but it's not that he's not the right guy for that. He's definitely the right guy for that. But if they're not going to continue doing that, and his worry was how he would be used outside of, the company, like if you were ever to branch out, then I don't know what else there is to worry about, because now you're not even getting booked like a god anymore. You're being booked like a mid-card act. So
right. Those options are now open. You now have places you can choose from, and it's like, okay, they're not using me how I want to this way. I can go to WWE, I can go to AEW, or I can just find another company in Japan.
That's right. So, yeah. Liz says with AEW, TK will be putting him on every TV show and showing up himself in his red scarf, right? Which he's still wearing to these press things, the scrums. Like, don't do that. Yeah, and Retro Rocket Review wonders if I think Okada has a fat ass. No, I don't think he has a fat ass. That's the problem. He doesn't have enough of an ass. He doesn't fill out his trunks, the way that he probably should. So all of his gear fits a little bit weird. So he has to find the right gear for him. I think he's finally settled into something good. He tried pants for a while, but definitely doesn't have an ass. So it's something he needs to work on in the gym, perhaps. And there's no shortage of Instagram models that will post their workouts for him to grow an ass. So you can always enjoy that aspect of America as well. We know he loves In-N-Out Burger. So that's one step to getting an ass, So yeah, well, I guess that's it for the news. Should we move on to the review portion of the show?
I guess.
was hoping you'd say no. Hoping you'd say you had something else. All right. Well, it's your annual Impact Provincial Wrestling Federation show. And this is the thing they do where they put on like a parody of local regional 80s wrestling federations that I don't know if they ever really existed, but they're just making fun of what they think old wrestling was. And that's what they do. And I don't yeah, I don't know if this was like entirely can we blame, because as you alluded to, can we blame the Good Brothers for this? Like, can we just lay the entire thing like in their laps because they had their podcast where they play characters, and then they did that in the WWE with Southpaw Regional Wrestling, and then they just carry it over here to do the exact same thing once they got released from the WWE?
I don't know. It's really how much of it is their fault for bringing it there, and how much fault of it is Impact Wrestling's for continuing it after they left.
Yeah, I guess if we're assigning faults, I didn't think about percentages. I just wanted to go back to the origins. Like, who do we ultimately blame for the genesis? And I think it's them.
Yeah, if you're putting it that way, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, they're making. I don't know what they were watching, like in their youth, that this is what they thought was going on. But I mean, I guess this is as good as any. But there, you know, what's funny is, and by funny I mean extremely sad, is like people really get excited for this sometimes, and I'm disappointed. Like already, you know, Retro Rocket threatened to stop watching and go back and watch the IPWF show just when I mentioned it. He's like, "Oh, I should turn off the Impact Attack to avoid spoilers for this fucking rotten parody." You know, like, and Chris Winland was excited about it on Twitter. He loves it. People genuinely like this shit. Like, they really like this. And it's, do you guys not understand why this fucking sucks? Like, do you really not get it? Like, do you understand why I hate this so much?
Go DJ, go DJ, go DJ.
It's not even a question of quality, even though I think this shit is bad. But I'm talking about the concept of it. Just even this thing existing. Like, do you guys know why this sucks so bad? Or why this is terrible? Or why this is bad for business? Or why it's bad for wrestling? Like,
I mean, the one-off parodies in WWE, I thought those were fine. But like going anything beyond that, nah.
Well, yeah, so let me try to explain this. You know, in terms of like, how does this, so okay, so we're already pretending, right, that real people are these characters, and they go on television in a sports league and they have battles to become champions in a fictional sports league, right? Like, we're already suspending our disbelief to think of pro wrestling in those terms. We used to think that pro wrestling was, we're at one point 100 years ago, legitimate sport, where guys like Farmer Burns and George Hackenschmidt and everybody were grappling it out to be champion of the world. You know, like we thought this was like, okay, this is legit, right? And then at some point, time goes on and it becomes phonier and phonier. And then Vince McMahon doesn't want to pay taxes, so he just is like, okay, it's fake, and just admits that everything in pro wrestling is phony, but we still go along with it. So we're playing along now. Like, this is exposed. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret. No one thinks this shit is real anymore. So we've already lost it to that point, right? But we're still playing along. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to pretend that these guys who are pretending, right, are now also pretending again, because it's clearly them. So we're not pretending that that this isn't Moose and this isn't Josh Alexander and this isn't all these guys playing dress up. Like that's what we're, it's not just that. It's not that they're putting on like a promo parody, like they dress up and then they pretend to be another wrestler, like cutting a promo or something. Now we have to believe they're going out there, and so they're having matches. So in the world of fake pro wrestling, are these, which is supposed to be real, like the matches are supposed to be real. So now, are they having real matches as these characters, or are they faking the whole thing? And it's like a kayfabe within a kayfabe, like an inception of like, I'm a heel in real life, but now I'm playing this goofy character. So, and I'm supposed to lose this match. So now they are they agreeing that are they doing actual like super exposed wrestling, or are they supposed to be legitimately fighting with their fake characters, and whoever wins wins? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see how there's levels that this doesn't make sense on?
Absolutely. Look at the difference between Tim Burr and Josh Alexander. Night and day.
This would be like in Game of Thrones, when they have a war at the wall or whatever, and they dress up as like other, like the characters dress up as other people, and then they have like a real fight where they're killing each other. Like what? Like what? You have to suspend disbelief in too many ways for this to work. And then on top of that, it sucks. It's not funny. Everything is like the laziest. Like, one of the characters is just something that they stole from a Disco Inferno joke many years ago when he was on the booking committees. So we have Tim Burr, except he's not even the evil lumberjack. He's the good lumberjack. There's no, it just doesn't work. It does not work. To me, it doesn't work, but people really like this. And they would say, I assume they would just say, well, we know it's all fake anyway, so we just enjoy it. Well, even if you just stop thinking about it, which I'm not trying to think about it. The reality of it is forcing its way into my head as I'm sitting here, like, watching this. Like, I can't just enjoy it for what it is because it's so terrible. And the logic of it is just like, it's assaulting me constantly. So there's no level on which I can enjoy it, but I understand that. That's different. I have a lot more, emotional stakes for something that I, put my body on the line to do and not make a mockery of it as best I could. So I understand it's different for people just sitting on a couch, but still, even on that level, this is so bad. Like, if wrestling fans were to watch this, most of them, okay, imagine you don't know the Impact characters and you stumble across this. Are you ever going to watch this again? This dingy ass looking, no crowd response having, just imagine the people that bought a ticket to that. Like, you actually wanted to pay to sit and see this? I'm sorry. This is why no one takes this promotion seriously. This is one of those reasons that's going to keep it in the gutter as far as fans and the wrestling business in general is concerned.
It's, again, they might as well do Wrestle House 3 at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you had a guy that killed somebody.
Which one?
Right. Which one? How many murderers are on the show? Alleged, by the way. I mean, he didn't really die, but so you had somebody kill somebody on camera with a knife. I mean, he did a bad job of it, but he tried. He tried to kill somebody with a knife, and then he's out here as like a Fantastics parody, strutting around with another guy that he had a feud to kick out of his cult group. And now they have wigs on and they're tag team partners and they're strutting around. I mean, you see how I can't just sit back and be like, oh yeah, it's just wrestling.
Go DJ, go DJ, go DJ.
Yeah. The scumbag moose. Lovable DJ. DJ too large. So this is only for the people that don't appreciate wrestling. And none of this will ever draw real money or get real attention. And it drags down what these guys are trying to do. I mean, already nobody believes you, and they believe you even less now. And that's why this is damaging, and it's why it also sucks. Like, I think objectively and subjectively, this is a terrible idea. And this is why you will stay small time forever. Bottom line. So, and if you want to point out things, you know, retro, like Vince McMahon and Exploding Limo, I would say all those same things about that. I'm not giving the WWE a pass on anything they did. I'm not giving anybody a pass. Since when have I ever gave somebody a pass? I'm not out here handing out passes as long as you've known me. But we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about this. You know, I didn't give him a pass for Southpaw. I just wasn't doing podcasts to you guys at that time. I may have been doing podcasts on my own, but I didn't give them a pass for that too. So, but that was all like, even Southpaw Regional Wrestling was done as like pre-packaged, pre-taped stuff. It wasn't like presented as a live wrestling card. You know, they made videos. You know, they shot videos. It was not like, hey, we're putting on an event and selling tickets to it. So keep that in mind too for those comparisons. But yes, anytime that you do anything that's stupid like that, I'm not a fan of it. So this is just a whole other level. But anyway, rather than say, you know what, I'm so insulted that I'm not going to talk about this, I'm going to show you how professional I am. Even though if someone said, Vet, you don't have to review this, nobody probably would blame me, and we could just cancel the show this week, and everybody would understand. They'd be like, yeah, I understand. They did IPWF. That ain't going to do that, right? I'm going to show you how inversely proportionally professional I am. So much more professional, in fact, than Impact. Because I'm going to go down this show, and I'm going to talk about this show. Because that's my job, and it's still a volunteer job. It's not like I'm raking in the dough to do this. It's volunteer work, and it doesn't need to be done, but I'm doing it anyway because I have integrity that this entire company doesn't have. And I hope whoever listens to this Impact Attack hears that and is ashamed that they took part in this as I read it back to them what they did. Okay? So there you go. It's like a little piece of Vet's soul died while watching it. If I had a soul, it might have died. All right, so IPWF, Impact Provincial Wrestling Federation. So that lets you know it's in Canada, right? Provinces. With announcers Giuseppe Scavelli Jr., which is Josh Matthews, which is another low point. We have to have Josh Matthews on commentary again. More on that later. And
I mean, well,
Professor,
his dad runs the show, so kind
his
of.
dad runs the show. It's a nepotism thing, yeah. Professor Ignatius Quigley, which, if you notice, those letters stand for IQ. That's Alex Shelley. So, other than wearing like a white lab coat, what about anything Alex Shelley did at this commentary desk showed any level of intelligence, or what was the gimmick? He put on glasses and a lab coat and has the initials IQ. What as an announcer did he do on this entire show that kind of got that over? I'm curious in case I missed it.
Nothing.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So, right off the bat, just to show you the level that they're at, even within, this is levels within levels within levels of bad, right? This is a total, this is a Christopher Nolan movie waiting to, be fully explored. So they pitch it to Doug Peterson, the ring announcer. Okay, is what they call him, who introduces himself. He says, "I'm Doug Stevenson." So I don't like, I'm sitting here watching like, okay, is this a bit? Like, did he just not, did they not line up their gimmick names beforehand? Did he say Doug Peterson, like the former coach of the Eagles, or did he just not remember the right name, or did the guy in the ring forget which name he was supposed to lie and say he had? And then he fucks up the Scavelli name too. I can't remember what he said, but it was a Scavelli. So they just, it's like they just grabbed some guy that was sweeping up the building beforehand and was like, "Hey, you're the ring announcer tonight," or something. Unless this was a guy from the business. I don't know who this is. Do you know who this is?
Nope.
Doug Stevenson or Peterson?
No
wow,
idea.
I'm actually selling Retro Rocket Review on the show. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, shut this off. Yeah, so, all right, I don't know who this is. So our first match is somebody named Kamikaze who's dressed like a ninja. Do you know who that is?
From what I've read, I believe that was Mike Bailey.
No, it couldn't be Mike Bailey. There's no way. It would make sense that he would be Mike Bailey, but he doesn't have the body for it. This guy had arms long enough to tie his boots without bending over. And Mike Bailey has another character on the show. Mike Bailey's the, isn't he usually like the guy with the French
Oh,
bread?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, he was the French dude. Yeah, he was like the French heel.
All right, well, Buckshot Kid says it was Mike Bailey. I don't know. I didn't think so, but all right, well, he's taking on Rapid Delivery Pete, which is Rich Swann in a polo shirt. Like, that's the level of creativity they have for these characters too. Like, I wondered, it's like, did everybody have to come up with their own, or did they get handed these? Because these are returning characters too. They don't do different ones. They do the same ones they've had before. But with the first time they got them, was that like a new, like The Office? Here's your gimmick, kid. You're a pizza delivery guy. You wear a hat and a polo shirt, and you carry empty pizza boxes. Did anybody get any pizza? Was there pizza in there? That could have been worth it. Like, if you got, they don't look like they have the budget for it, but if you actually paid to see the show and then like one of the guys gave you pizza, like that'd be like something, like a slice of.
That was actually one of the gimmicks, like the announcer talked about during the match, was if Pete wins, then he gives a free pizza to the audience.
Right. Well, he did win, and he did pick up the boxes of pizza. Quite easy for them to be full of pizza, I'll say, because there was a few boxes.
It's thin crust.
Oh, okay, thin crust, right? But we didn't see the distribution of pizza, no matter what, whether it was a shoot or a work. They cut before he actually opens a box of any kind, so we'll never know unless we were there. Also, during the match, Kamikaze had his he kept doing a ninja pose, you know, and he had like his two fingers were like taped up, and then during the match, like the tape fell off. Like it wasn't like he taped his fingers; it was like he was wearing finger covers. Like he just had tape wrapped, and then he stuck them on like big tape thimbles, and then one of them fell off during the match. So, and it wasn't. I don't think it was a spot. You know, they didn't call attention to it. It's just how shitty this is.
Yep.
It would be super genius if they did plan that, but I don't know what the point was. It's not enough of a trope in wrestling about how stupid wrestling is to have somebody's finger tape just fall off in one piece rather than have it be actually wrapped around your finger.
And the other big takeaway I had from this match was the spot where they had a guy named Kamikaze attack the babyface from behind. Obvious.
Of course. Of course. Well, yeah. All right. Next we get a promo from Giuseppe Scavelli Sr., who's the owner and operator of IPWF. It's also Scott D'Amore, funny enough. So there you go. Then you have a little interview with Boris Alexiev, Santino. And it's also the name of his gimmick character from OVW that he used as a shoot. A Russian MMA fighter, Boris Alexiev, who actually went on a Goldberg-like streak before they gave him a call and gave him a job and told him he had to be an Italian guy from Italy. And he's with Comrade Colonel Korn. So this is the former Colonel Korn, played by Johnny Bravo. But now he's a Comrade Korn, because he's here with Boris Alexiev from Russia. They do an interview, and they talk about something where he had a match in a tournament that didn't exist with Muscles McGee, who was Brian Cage, and they just show like a little short clip, and they say he killed him in their match. So they ask if he has any concern for Tim Burr in the finals of the tournament. And of course, Tim Burr is Josh Alexander. And of course, Boris Alexiev says, if he dies, he dies. The line from Rocky IV. Yeah.
You know what I'd like to see if they do continue this is next year, if Brian Cage ends up coming back, he comes in as the twin brother named Peaks McGee. And he brings his dad with him, who is Scott Steiner, being Scott Steiner.
Yes. Yes, I don't want to see any of that. Yes. Don't ever want to see any of this again. DJ Too Large. And we know who that is. He does an interview. He's the International Commonwealth Television Champion. Yeah. So I think they think that's supposed to be funny too, like an unnecessarily long title that doesn't make sense, like, you know, Western Heritage States Champion or what, you know, one of those weird belts they made up. Ha 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 ha. He has a funny old timey title name belt. And then he's interrupted by the $361,000 man. I forget who this guy is. I know he was some guy we had to look up last time we reviewed this. He's not normally in Impact, I don't think, but he does these things. I forget his name. Maybe somebody in the chat remembers who the fuck this guy is, but he actually goes up to the $369,000 man. I guess one of his investments paid off or something. And then he tries to buy the belt for the life-changing sum of $10,000. DJ Too Large starts a freestyle rap with the audience participation just to say no. And then he's attacked by the Masked Brother, which That's Frankie Kazarian. Did you look up who that guy was?
R.D. Evans.
R.D. Evans. Why do I know him?
I know I've heard the name before. I mean, I know he's accomplished some stuff. I'm not really sure what, though. I don't remember.
Yeah. All right. So Masked Brother Frankie Kazarian. And he looks like this is actually for a shoot what looks like what are those guys? Blunt Force Trauma in NWA?
Yes.
It's like Rodney Mack and Marche Rocket.
Yep.
Like they actually dress exactly like this. This is their gimmick. I don't think he's doing it like that though. I think he just did it. But all right, more on that later. Okay, so there's a promo from did you have anything on this interview with DJ Too Large and the $369,000 man?
Not other than it's just such a disconnect to see Moose playing such an over-the-top crowd favorite when we see the scumbag every week on the real show.
Right.
And I did, and the whole Masked Brother thing, like, wait, Masked Brother? How does that, what? But then when he cut his promo later on, it's like, okay, I think I understand what he was going for, but we'll get to it when we get there.
Yeah, I definitely understood that one immediately, even before he did the promo, just because, again, we're thinking back to the origins of where this shit came from. It seems like I know Frankie Kazarian was probably friends with them, and he's probably carrying it over something that, this probably would have been a spot for fucking, what's that guy's name that nobody likes? Carl Anderson. So, this is a promo with Walter Chestnut, which is David Penzer, and Neptune, which is Mahabali Shera, versus wait, it's not versus. It's a promo by these guys, and then the next promo is by Scavelli Sr., Scott Moore, and Frank the Butcher, which is Rhino. So they're promoting their match later, right here, back to back. Any notes on that?
Nope, just kind of like your basic 80s regional promos, just with a little bit of extra theatrics to them, and in different settings.
Yeah. All right. Well, apparently last week, which, it's funny they keep saying this. Last week, Red Letter, which is a male person played by Jody Threat, beat Lady Bird Johnson, which you remember was Havoc.
Yeah, that's a team that's on the milk carton list. Where have the Death Dolls been?
We certainly saw where Havoc was. Last week she was getting beat by Red Letter.
I guess they're still out on that quest.
Yeah. Quest could take a long time. But anyway, yeah. So there's some gimmick infringement when Red Letter considers changing her name to Rapid Delivery or something, and then Rapid Delivery Pete doesn't like that, as he wouldn't. Yeah. And then we get our match, Neptune versus the Butcher, like we all wanted. Butcher goes over.
Yeah, and a lot of meta jokes in here too, with like, Gore. I don't know if that'll ever get over. While Rhino is in the ring.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, a lot of that on this show tonight.
Yeah, I really wasn't listening to most of it. I'll be honest with you on that part. I'm not, I tuned out the commentary for the most part.
Oh, dude, during the Sunday Morning Express versus Hard Workers, there was like when the Sunday Morning Express was making their entrance, Alex Shelley's making like a lot of like, ooh, I like this editor guy. He seems like me and him could get along really well.
Right.
Shit like that.
Just genius level, like unbelievable. That's why he's the best. That's why he's the champ,
And influenced an entire generation.
An entire generation. They're all watching this right now. They're so proud that they were under his learning tree. before we get to that, which is almost next, we get a video for the hard workers. So this is the kind of thing, the hard workers video. This is the kind of thing that would be like, okay, if you just wanted to make this as a joke, that'd be okay. So you're parodying those teams like the Rock and Roll Express, the Fantastics, the Fabulous Ones, like all these very, very homoerotic teams, you know, that
just
have
this
this
vignette
certain look and feel. Yeah,
just this vignette would have been fine. When you actually have a real match, that's where we kind of go off the rails.
Yeah,
and plus
also the actual pairing of the murderer and the guy that was expelled from the cult of murderers and lost his name. Like, he doesn't even have his own name now.
Right. It's
but they're teaming up to do this. You know, that's also a way that this doesn't make sense. But if it was a way that made sense, you know, like if it was two baby faces that existed, or if it was the Motor City Machine Guns who wanted to do something like this, that would be in character. Even going all the way back to the paparazzi, you know, production of the Alex Shelley and all that, and him mocking things and being irreverent. And then you want to make a parody video of like an 80s tag team as baby faces showing off your abs.
Or even like when they're doing the paparazzi productions and him and Johnny Devine dress up as like Fantastic-esque characters, and while they're doing their shooting and fuck with their subjects that way. That'd have been great. That would have worked.
Yep. But no. Anyway, there's that. And now we get to the match with Sunday Morning Express, which is Chris Sabin and the other guy that I forgot that only does these things and doesn't actually work there. I didn't get his name. And then this is the match with the Hard Workers, which is Jake something and Diener, if you weren't familiar. Now, this is where I did have the commentary note, because what this match is going on, there's parts of it where Josh Matthews is just grunting. Like they're like he's doing they're doing moves, right? Like he'll do like a, you know, like a shoulder tackle or something. Josh goes, ugh. Like he's just reacting to stuff in the ring, like, you know, like, what? Fuck. Anyway. Yeah. So, anyway, the finish of this match is something which I don't know if he's Hall or Oates. I didn't really bother to keep it straight. Gets rolled up after he gets hit in the head with the newsy bag, which is full of loaded newspapers, I'm sure. So even in a gimmick, you know, Sabin goes over a big Jack guy. Even in a fake, you know, a fake gimmick, you ain't beating Goldberg 98. So he beat a guy that kind of looked like Goldberg 98 physically, but he actually won. Any other notes or comments on this particular piece of business?
Oh, geez, not really. This is just dumb. Like this whole show.
Okay. Rip Razor and Rusty Iron walk by and ask Dreamer if he's got a smoke. And he says he doesn't smoke. He says that's why he'll never make it in his business, kid, or something. And that's supposed to be funny. I don't know who Dreamer's supposed to be. I didn't catch his gimmick name either.
I legit think he was supposed to be a young version of himself.
Was he?
Yes.
Okay. Next we have the thing with Red Letter, Dreamer, Sheldon comes in, Myers comes in, he pukes on Sheldon, and Chestnut and Neptune are janitors now, and they clean up the puke. I don't remember what all was said here, but I don't think it really matters. I just wrote it down for the sake of completion.
I will say, though, this kind of actually, when you watch the finish or see the what happened during the DJ Two Large Master Brother match, this and getting the Neptune and Chestnut in there as the janitors and establishing that kind of made a little bit of sense. But I'm talking about in the context of this show.
Right. 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 Uh, all right. Well, next we have Razor, which is Ace Austin, if I didn't say that before, and Iron, which is Gia, if I didn't say that before, versus Cowboy Colton McCoy, which is Fat Eddie, and Rough Rider Georgia Cobb, which is Jordan Grace. Faces go up. It sucked. Is there anything else to add to that?
No, other than it was obviously very clearly fake and prop cigarettes they were using because there's no smoke coming out of them.
Right. Even prop cigarettes have smoke.
Yeah, these were like.
I remember using prop cigarettes for a high school play.
Although I will give Ace Austin credit that he managed to like actually wrestle with something hanging out of his mouth, and that like if you actually have to be in the ring to understand like the breathing and how difficult it is to actually do that with something in your mouth and having to keep your mouth closed during all that. So props to him for pulling that off.
All right. Well, that's a skill he'll never need, but it's nice to know he has, I guess. All right. Next is the Mass Brother promo. This is where we all figured it out. It was what the gimmick was, in case we didn't earlier.
I thought it was a dig at Hogan.
It could have been,
Like
but it's also a dig at every wrestling veteran in every locker room, supposedly. Like that guy they all talk about that they never name an example of, but that's the guy that younger guys talked about always being in the locker room. Never did anything, never went anywhere, but still tells everybody how it is. Probably with a cigarette. Or, in this case, the cup of chew, like for tobacco. Their tobacco spit, they have that cup. We've all seen that. He's got a Ribera jacket on, That means he went to Japan and got it from the steakhouse. So he's definitely doing a parody of those type of wrestlers.
Yes, the Hogan thing that got me is when he said this brother doesn't lay down for anybody.
Yeah, I don't do jobs for anyone, he says.
Yeah, that one.
So, but, Frankie Kazarian bet on himself, right? He came to Impact. He's going to, this is what he's here to do. This is what he couldn't do. Just collecting a check and being left off of AEW TV.
Hey, he did win a belt this show.
I guess that's true. You can add that to the list. I wonder if you count that in your list of fake titles. Like, is his Wikipedia page gonna, is it gonna acknowledge this title change? But yeah. So what's funny about this is like, so for the people that don't know, the vet nickname that I have was bestowed upon me by Rip Rogers. It's just what he named me as an ironic nickname because it was me signing up for his class. So he said, well, he's the rookie, so we'll call him the veteran. And then he made jokes about how every time he saw me, he would joke about how many years I've been in the business. It started out with something like 2 years in the business, and then it went to 5 years in the business. And then, after weeks and weeks went by, I was like 157 years in the business. Like he kept going up. Somehow he kept it in his mind to keep the gimmick going. But even in his casual throwaway joke brain, he still made it make sense. Like he didn't go down in years. He always went up from the last time. So I don't know how he kept that straight in his head, but that's the level of which he was thinking about it. But it was just a joke. But because he had a commitment to his own bit, when we would practice promos I would just do a character like this. Like the Masked Brother. Like the veteran with the cigarette or the chew cup or whatever. You would imagine me wearing Zubaz and a fanny pack if you saw me. Like I did one of those where, I dropped the, all right, listen up, Vet's talking. All right, that was actually my opening line catchphrase. All right, listen up, Vet's talking. So I'd do that and I'd cut a promo about how I been of his for all these years. And I just did that because I was in a room full of wrestlers and they laughed. And Rip laughed, so I did that. Then, of course, people like maybe Ben Hameen, maybe Adam Revolver, maybe those people that were in charge of creative were like, yeah, you should do that character on TV. And I think my response would be something along the lines of, fuck no. I'm not doing that on TV. I'm not going to expose a bit. That's a joke for you guys. That's not a gimmick, right? Now we have this entire show of people doing what I refused to do, like 17, 18 years ago, whatever. So this masked brother thing is it's near and dear to my heart in a way, but I wasn't going to do it on TV. If you want to get a VHS copy of Dishonorable Discharge, only $39.99
on Coliseum Home Video.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. So. Yeah. So.
I will say the spot of putting somebody in a full Nelson and making them dance is actually not a bad babyface spot.
Oh, are you up on where are we at now?
The actual Masked Brother 2 large match.
All right. I wasn't quite there yet, but yeah.
Bad.
Okay. Well, it's fine. It's almost there. It's the next major thing that happened. I was just going to mention that they also had another, what do you call it? They had a clip of what happened last week. Something with Trey Miguel. I didn't bother taking notes on this.
He takes an eat. Yeah, he takes an eat defeat and just stands there, stands up, selling the entire time with like his head tilted back, and he just while the pin takes place, and he does absolutely nothing to break it up.
All right. Yeah, we can definitely move on past that. Yep. All right, Sonic, I didn't expect you to come back and start roasting me in the chat. That's not why you were supposed to come back. Yeah, it was not supposed to come back like that. And if I look like the Gerber baby, it's because I'm getting fat from eating all these muffins for all these wrestling shows. But yes, here we go. Masked Brother versus DJ Too Large for the International Commonwealth Television Championship of the world. All right, now you so a full Nelson dance for a babyface.
I like that spot. I think with the right character and the right gimmick, that could be a good spot for somebody to use during matches.
Well, the gimmick would have to be an '80s rapper of some sort.
I mean, there's other dances. There's other things that you could do with it. Just make the dude just kind of sway back and forth. And there's other things you could do with it.
Well, okay, I guess I never thought of it like that. Any other notes on the match? Because I don't have any. I just didn't really want to see this at all, but it was Moose, so I had to look at it. But it's very sad the whole time.
Yeah, not much other than that. I think the spot where Moose did the Hogan comeback, like pretty much spot for spot, move for move, was kind of helped reinforce my idea that the Masked Brother gimmick was a rib on Hogan.
Right. Must have been NWO Hogan, because there was masked men that came out and interfered, to cost DJ Too Large his championship here. So the Masked Brother goes over and is the new Commonwealth International, whatever it is. I wonder how DJ Too Large is going to recover from this.
Do they even have like the main champion of IPWF on the show?
I don't even know what that would be.
Yeah, what even is that?
Yeah. So yeah. Right before, the main event, we're gonna see Tim Burr and Boris Alexiev getting ready, and then Tim Burr comes out And then on his way to the ring, he does an interview. I didn't listen to a word he said. What did he say? Anything?
It was just your basic like in character gimmick promo, but for me, this showed a lot more range to Josh Alexander than I thought he had. Like it showed that he can play a character and work a gimmick.
Unlike, say, the actual world champion who's sitting on commentary right behind him.
Yeah, like credit to Josh Alexander. He committed to the bid, and it probably the most entertaining I've seen him.
All right. Good for him. Then we get the actual entertaining promo guy. He just comes out. He already did a sort of interview. Well, he just said the line from Rocky IV earlier. That's what he did. He comes out with Colonel Korn, Comrade Korn. He didn't use, for obvious reasons, he didn't use Anvil of Krom as his entrance music like he did when he was actually Boris Alexiev in OVW, which is the song they play over the credits of Conan the Barbarian, in case you're not familiar with the title. That's a cool song for an entrance. Whatever he used, it's probably one of those public domain songs. I can't remember what it is, but I forgot what it was, but I heard it and I was like, oh, that, okay. Well, Tim Burr wins, and he gets carried off on the babyface's shoulders as we end the show.
You didn't say what he went over with.
I didn't.
An axe handle off the top rope.
Ah, perfect. Perfect way to wrap this whole thing up. Another pun. Yeah. Well, there it was. Now, Retro Rocket Review can decide whether this is must-see television, which I'm sure he already did. But keep in mind, probably will be heavily under the influence of some substance. So it's difficult to take his reviews, whether they be Retro Rockets or wrestling shows, 100% seriously. But that was hopefully the last ever Impact Provincial Wrestling Federation show ever. Hopefully. So there you go. That's it.
Not only sold it, it was the finish to the main event.
Yeah, he says someone sold an axe handle. Buckshot Kid said that in the chat here live, which you got to be a part of if you're listening on channelattitude.com. If you want to be a part of the chat, remember every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So you too can describe what I look like, or name my sex tapes, or tell me how many muffins I'm eating, or come in for Brandon's beard growing tips, or whatever else the chat normally says. But we're done talking about that. If there's anything you guys want to talk about before we get out of here, now's the time. We will be taking questions, and I just it's definitely a sobering experience to have to do something like this or watch something like this. Like, these guys are really putting so much effort into this, like they're coming up with they're not that much effort, but more than zero is what it should be. Right. And that's kind of upsetting. And it's another reminder of, like, you announced a brand change and you're like looking like you're doing everything you can to postpone any real content until then. And you still have 4 more weeks in the month. And then
looks like
how many weeks in January before? Like
5 weeks.
Yeah, so minimum 5 weeks, and you're already done with IPWF. So I mean,
Wrestle House
so
3 win.
that's right. And wrestling houses don't just happen. That's more levels of production. So they would have already had to have done this. And if they didn't have an announcement for it, probably not getting that, which is good for me, I guess. But yeah. All right. So the first question we have is for Retro Rock Review. What is the best underwear? I don't know if he's asking for a brand or if he just a style. I prefer boxer briefs. Yeah, that's, I usually get the Hanes boxer briefs.
I'm right
Brandon,
up
you
there
care
with
to
you.
answer this?
Right up there with you.
Okay. And that's probably why, because they don't ride up there with you. That's what the benefit of having the boxer style is. The little legs keep it from, keep you from getting wedgies. So it's pretty good. I like that. But it could be Fruit of the Loom. It could be whatever you like. But I prefer the boxer brief style of undershorts. Um, Opinion on WWE and not being able to say yeet due to copyrights. That's from Lab Rat. Is that real? Has somebody copyrighted that? They already put it on a t-shirt. So do they have to pull the shirts now? I didn't hear about this. If that's true, I find that to be funny. But
That wouldn't be the first time something like that happened with them either. And you think they would have learned their lesson the first time that happened.
right. Well, who owns it?
Remember Submission Sorority?
No.
That was when they first started the whole women's revolution thing, and they brought up, okay, we got 3 teams of 3 women. We got Paige, Becky, and Charlotte. They're going to be the Submission Sorority. Oh, that's already the name of a porn series.
Well, that makes sense. Okay. Javi says some indie wrestler owns a trademark. Lab Rat's seen a few articles. They probably also tested it on him. They probably tested Yeet on Lab Rat, made sure. Casey Huffman. Well, that's a candidate for a Conan Who, if I've ever heard one. But I find it funny when WWE has to get a cease and desist. That's definitely funny. So that's my opinion on that. It's funny. So you can't sell merch with Yeet. But I don't know if he could still say it on TV. Probably could. Be sad if they can't.
He might be able to. He's have to stick it with something else, and it had to be part of something rather than just eat on its own.
Right. Well, we've seen in the past people tried to trademark things that were way, 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 way too vague or whatever, like when Paris Hilton and That's Hot and shit like that. But yeet is such a weird internet word that someone, if they copyright that, it would seem original enough for trademarks and things like that you can't infringe upon it. So but
well, and the way that the trademarks work too is using this in the context of this particular field of entertainment or market or industry or business or whatever.
Yeah.
For example, somebody could make a Yeet cereal and it wouldn't infringe on the Yeet wrestling copyright.
Yeah. Well, Liz says she's looking at the database and she doesn't see that. So, Liz knows where to get all the official information. She's our resident statistician. And I'll just say linguist. So we look to her for things like this. But, still. I mean, the WWE, they're carnies. Indie wrestlers are carnies. They could all work each other. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, let's see. All right. Sonic the Hedgehog, get that internet fixed? No. It's still bad for some reason, and I don't know what I can do to fix it. But I've done everything on my end. My equipment was upgraded. Um, it's just something in my area is causing my upload speeds to be intermittent. So if you've seen me cutting out or pausing or whatever has been happening, I apologize, but it's out of my hands. That's Comcast's fault. Not as bad as what happens with Ben and RBV and everybody on Spectrum, but still very bad. So like I said, I apologize. But I don't really know what I can do to fix it. All I can do is call them and get money. Like, hey, my shit went out. You gotta pay me. So they might do that. They'll give me like $5 credit. Buckshot Kid asked, do you think someone is ribbing Rip when he's live on his phone? So what he's referring to is on Wrestle with Rip Rogers, not this past week, but the past couple of weeks, last week and one extra day, they were doing like shows where Rip is at home on his phone. And what would happen is somebody would like either message him or call him during the show. And then when he ignores the call, like that cut the sound out on StreamYard. So he muted and he couldn't unmute, which he probably was able to unmute, but it's Rip. So he doesn't know how to work the technology. So it's amazing enough that Rip Rogers has a cell phone in the first place, like a smartphone. Like that's something I never thought. When I first saw his Twitter account, I was like, that's not real. That can't be real. Rip would never be on Twitter. He would say, I don't know how to fucking do that shit. So, but apparently it is him. And that's one of the things he has figured out. Yeah. So a couple times he got interrupted. I don't think it's somebody ribbing. That's when you're a pseudo celebrity, that's what happens. People you get messages and notifications all the time. So I don't even think it's somebody ribbing. That's the honest truth. So yeah, that's what's up on that. But if you guys did not check out the Mark Henry interview, I'll plug it again at the end, but it's right there on YouTube right now. You can go watch it right after this. It's 2 hours, so it's a while, but hey, break that up. Watch it a few minutes at a time. Just put it on and watch it. You're going to be entertained. It's great. It's great seeing Mark Henry actually talking, telling stories, these things, he and Rip reconnecting, and you're going to hear Mark Henry sound a lot like me when he's talking. So, let's see. Should we all get together?
Like about Mark Henry is him being like that old school trained, veteran locker room leader guy. Like, remember when they actually hired him back to the WWE to specifically be the locker room leader?
It was. I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm what I assume is that the people that were, let's say grandfathered in, like by the people that founded the company, perhaps they're immune to guys that just got released from WWE and signed up, and their enforcement policies. Let's say that. That's my speculation, though. That's not based on any inside information. Retro Rocker Review says, should we all get together at an event? Group wrestling or rock concert? Absolutely not. For one, I don't even know if you'd be able to cross the border. I don't think they'd let you out. Two, no. I don't want to see any of you people. You will never see me in real life. But Brandon, what about you? You think that's a good idea? You want to go to a rock concert with all these wonderful HMG chat people? No offense to any of them.
I'd be down.
All right.
Depends on what
Brandon,
we're seeing, though. Get
Brandon in there. We'll go see a show. We'll go see a Matchbox 20 concert. Whatever Indian casino they play at now. Let's see. Thoughts on the GTA 6 trailer? What? Did it get released? I didn't even know that. It wasn't released as of when I took a nap before this show. Is it out now? Okay. So yeah. Update on the copyright situation. Liz says she found it, and it's some dude in West Virginia. It also looks like there's a possible suspension of his trademark, which goes right into Sonic's comment of WWE gonna buy that trademark soon. That's probably why they offered this. Look, man, you don't want Yeet as much as you want this $25,000 or whatever they're gonna offer me. Like I just made up that number. I don't know what. When was the last time you grew your hair long? 2000 and two. It wasn't that long. It just grew out. And then I stopped paying for haircuts. But I'm not a barber, so I just use clippers and shave it to a 1. And I've done that for a long time, but the last time it grew out to any significant length was probably 2002. Yeah. So, Brandon, what's the longest your hair has ever been? Is it longest right now, or have you had it longer, or?
I would say the longest right now.
All right. What prompted the long hair? Did you want to? Was it something you've done off and on, or did you just decide this time, like, all right, I'm just growing it out? Like, did you always keep it short until now, or was kind of all over the place?
I don't know. I've been having it long since high school, and the only time I actually really had it trimmed was when I had a hair versus hair match, which I lost.
And they took a couple inches off the snip.
No, it was actually like a pretty close, like almost damn near a crew cut, and it was done.
All right. So yeah, so that was that, but like disappointingly, yeah, it was never like long. So it just grown out. What else do we have here? Trademark suspended. It looks like it's specifically in wrestling, but the trademark associated with apparel is abandoned, so he's not really cared about. Okay. It already has 30 million views, pal. Oh, those are CM Punk numbers. I don't know. Should we watch? Well, we can't watch the trailer live. It would probably get taken down. I was gonna say put up the trailer on the screen, but now let's not do that.
Yeah, we don't really need any more strikes against the channel.
Nah, no more. Even though it's an ad, basically, but that would still be like, oh, you can't do that, you know. That's just how the world works. Doesn't make sense.
Try and find any way to stick it to you they can.
Yep. What was a better show? Lab Rat says, This Impact or Collision? Collision by magnitudes. Compared to this show, Collision was like, well, just whatever made you love wrestling the most in your life. Collision was that compared to this. And Collision sucked. So that just lets you know the absolute like abyssal level that this show reaches. Yeah, so here's one for I would ask you that, Brandon, but I know you didn't watch Collision. Okay, Buckshot Kid says, for both of you, how much you plan to spend on Christmas gifts? Planning? None. Will actually end up spending? Who knows?
And I think I will echo that same answer.
All right. Nothing planned. Okay. Yeah, we know what GTA look like at this point, Sonic says. Right, it's yeah, what are they? It's just gonna be it's gonna be just like Red Dead Redemption 2, where everything takes 10 times longer than it used to on PS2. Yeah. Well, I mean, those are some good questions, I guess. You know, whatever random stuff you don't get to hear us talk about. I mean, we talk about wrestling because that's what people expect, and but I'm quite sure that we would have a lot more fun and have a better show if we had better topics to talk about, or even a better wrestling show to talk about. You know, and the wrestling show's a little bit better, or even when it's just a real wrestling show, you know, we can make some lemonade, make a little chicken salad sandwich here or there. But you know, something like this, it's like we're just basically. Lab Rat says, "What's your favorite holiday snack?" What about you, Brandon? What's your favorite holiday snack?
Whew, man. That's a tough one. That's actually a tough one. I gotta say that the Christmas themed jelly beans.
Christmas themed jelly beans. What are those? I don't even know what that is. Is that they really theme? Well, what is it like? Certain flavors like mint and more mint? Like what is the what is?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Or is it just red, green, and white? Or
oh no, it was the M&Ms. M&Ms. I'm sorry.
oh yeah, okay. I was about to say. Although, we'll see about that copyright in West Virginia on those Christmas jelly beans. Sonic says the one I'm eating because fat. Thorn Princess or Chun-Li? Lizbeth says. Well, Chun-Li's a classic, but Thorn Princess is the new hotness. I'm gonna say it's a Thorn Princess.
I don't know who Thorn Princess is, so I'm gonna go Chun-Li.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, shout outs to Spy Family. If you want to watch a show that actually has stories, characters, humor, action, everything you want from pro wrestling, go watch Spy Family. Let's see. Is Liz gonna send out cookies this year? It depends on the bets. Oh yeah, my favorite holiday snack is. What is my favorite holiday snack? Well, I like treats any time of the year, you know, like, but some you see more around holiday times more than others. Divinity is like just a sugar bomb, you know, it's a box of sugar bombs. So I like those. I grew up on eggnog as a kid, just like the non-alcoholic, just buy at the store. You know, I always like that. I don't really buy it for myself, but what's another snack that's holiday related? Peppermint bark, you know, those type of things, like the stuff that's sort of associated with Christmas, I guess, like those candies and everything like that. Snacks, I don't really like. For example, you know, Retro said cashews. You know, like, well, again, anytime is a good time for cashews or turtles or whatever. You know, so if I'm just limiting it to specifically holiday time, I would think of some of those type of sugary treats. Liz likes caramel checks. And she also says there will be no cookies. So looks like she's also in the plan spend category. Yeah, this is way more fun than talking about IPWF. I'd much rather answer questions about snacks and video games.
IPWF. There's a promotion I wrestled for in Tennessee called TIWF, and they actually had their own theme song they played before the show, and it was based and it went TIWF, TIWF.
They're like, we got to repeat it. It's gonna burn it into the fans' minds, and they'll just come back again and again. Yeah. Yeah. Buckshot Kid likes a chocolate called After Eights. It's probably some Canadian thing. Sonic says, if you PWF, you might want to get that looked at. Liz says, I'm making Taylor Swift ornaments for a friend for an early Christmas present because she's a Swiftie.
Get Swifty.
Right. Well, that's a love story if I've ever heard one. Yeah, so, well, I guess we're wrapping it up. Unless any other questions come in under the radar, we'll get them in. We'll try to get them answered before we sign off, but we'll just go to our plugs. So, Brandon, tell the people where they can find you if they want to say, ask you more questions that are not Impact Wrestling related.
As always, you can catch me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X at TransArchisTia. I am also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist. And we are actually going to be back to, not tomorrow night, Wednesday night after the SmackDown self-help group doing some GTA Vice City.
Whoa, GTA Vice City. Well, that's good. I was just about to ask, we're still at war with Warcraft, right? Like we're not.
No.
Okay.
That war is now over.
All right. So there you go. Yeah, so in the celebration of this GTA 6 trailer, we're going to go back and play the classic Vice City. And just be sure to go into the menu, Brandon, and turn down the volume on the music slider.
Yeah,
because I played GTA 5 on stream and I never got any strikes, even though I let the songs play and stuff like that. But just in case, it's all.
I didn't get any strikes, but they muted the audio on the replay.
Yeah, I didn't even get that, but that's probably because I turned it down to where it's barely audible. And, you've got the game sounds drowning it out and you got the talking drowning it out. So you can avoid it that way. If you don't just want to turn it off altogether, but yeah. So then, yeah, as for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on Twitch or any of your favorite social media platforms. Hopefully, my internet's been giving me a hassle, but hopefully it'll get cleared up in time for $2 Tuesday. So that'll probably be tomorrow around 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you want to join that. And then, of course, Twitter. Even if the kids do call it the X, I'm not really into it. So, and Elon Musk said tweets, so fuck him. So you got Opinion Haver there, Instagram, whatever else you want to follow. Some of the accounts I'm not on, like it tells me you got this many new followers on Threads. Hey, good. I uninstalled Threads, but you can still follow me on it if you want. At Opinion Haver. And you've got every Wednesday, the Next Level Wrestling Review with myself and Big Ray Hernandez, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. He's watching Raw right now, probably going like, where's CM Punk? And then he's going to go and put on one of his rant videos about how the WWE's fucking up. But
and he wouldn't be wrong either.
He wouldn't be wrong. That'd be one of the few times Ray's not wrong. And I know he's going to hear this. And that's why I say things like that. Because I know you're listening. I expect it. But anyway, yeah, so, there's that. And you could, like I said here, if you're listening on channelattitude.com, this show is live every 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. So give us a shot if you want to see the live show and join in and ask questions. But, there you go. And you could to Wrestle Rib Rogers. I said I'd point that out again. Oh yes, don't forget about the Wreckage, where Collision had a better show than Impact this week, even though it sucked. But Chris wasn't there this week for the Wreckage, but Jimmy and I still took care of it and gave you guys some content there. We did our best, even though I didn't love it. I didn't love the show that I did. Well, like on my end personally, like, I'm harsh critic of myself. I didn't really care for my show, but it was good enough, I guess, and better than probably the actual Collision, and definitely better than the IPWF. So go check that out. And every Friday at whatever their concrete time is, and I say that because it keeps changing, but check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Again, the Mark Henry interview on YouTube right now. Bookmark it. Go put it in your watch later section. You're going to want to hear Mark Henry on this show. I'm just telling you. Especially if you never cared for Mark Henry that much. Because if you never cared for Mark Henry that much, you probably didn't go out of your way to see anything he did that was real. You know, like you probably just remember him from TV. But here's a side of Mark Henry that you're going to want to see. Because they have a lot of fun on that show. So check out Mark Henry. Can't put it over enough. And then Stevie Richards, newest video as of me looking at this recording, but then again, I didn't know the GTA 6 trailer was out, so what do I know? But believe his newest video available for everyone to watch on YouTube is the Bret Hart and Goldberg, what went wrong on the figure 4 on the post spot. Well, you know, go watch a video anyway. You don't need a video to tell you what went wrong. What went wrong is Bret Hart hit his head on the ground because he trusted Goldberg to do something in a match. And, you know, sad to say, as much as I love Bret Hart, that's on Bret Hart for trusting somebody that's that rotten to do something.
That was one of his, as great as Bret was, that was one of his biggest mistakes where he put too much faith in Goldberg, where he should have been like the worker, taking more control and knowing what he could and couldn't do with Goldberg.
Right. But hey, you know,
shit happens.
Sometimes when you're as good as Bret Hart, you just assume, you know, hey, you can do it. And that's how you have to treat it sometimes, you know? You know, not that I'm on the level of a Bret Hart, but you know, if we're all like learning, if we're all sort of trainees, and whether we're having real matches in front of people or not, you know, I have to trust. I can't trust the other person, but I still have to trust them enough to listen to me, do what I say, you know, and that's how I approach those type of situations. When a guy couldn't do fuck all, I didn't let him, but I still trust him to do the things he did. So, you know, but regardless, that's not what this is about. This is about Stevie Rich's wrestling analysis. So check out that video. Check out his equipment reviews. Check out his tech reviews. Check out everything Stevie Rich is doing. And that is just about it. We'll wrap this show. We gave the people plenty of content, and I think they should be satisfied, even if we were unsatisfied. So for Brandon, I'm the vet, and